A very good evening. You're watching The Burning Question and I'm Deepthi Sachdeva. Every day at this time, we usually bring our issues that matter to you, issues that will get important in a part of a conversation in the run-up to the battle of 2024. The battle is still a few months away, but then there are interesting moves and checkmates being offered by the ruling dispensation and the opposition. The opposition that many say is mired with its own contradictions right now, but there is this controversy about Rath Prabharis. Now, just in case you wonder what this entire issue is all about, so we'll tell you and bring up those figures also on our screens that will help you understand who stands where. Now, as expected, you have the NDA that says it's important to talk of the welfare schemes of the government. The Prime Minister, remember, uses a phrase. He says, Tushtikaran nahi, Santushtikaran. Now, Santushtikaran in literal terms is saturation. The Prime Minister time and again has spoken about the saturation of the tons of the welfare schemes by the government. The idea is to ensure that there is a last mile delivery, and in the farthest of villages, in the remotest of villages, the last man or woman standing gets the benefits of the schemes that the government has been working on for the last 9 years. On the other side, you have the usual suspects, if I can use that word. That does include Rahul Gandhi. It includes Mallikarjun Kharge, and interestingly, this also has Sitaram Yechuri of the left. Now, what is the problem in case the government wants to ensure the last mile delivery of all its welfare schemes? The problem is, according to the opposition, the use of Babus or bureaucrats. Remember, the bureaucrats are said to be the steel of the entire administration. They owe their allegiance not to a political party, not to a government, but to the constitution. So this means that they cannot be taking sides. All that they have to think of is the constitution and the welfare of the common people. Now, the BJP has spoken of a term that says Viksit Bharat Sankalp Yatra. This is a yatra that begins just after Diwali. It will go on till the month of January, and the idea is to ensure that you get these bureaucrats now to talk of the welfare schemes of the government. You heard that right. The bureaucrats will be talking of the welfare schemes of the government. Now, the government says that what is wrong in this? Because the idea is to ensure that the last man standing gets the benefits, and the bureaucrats are duty bound to do this. But the opposition says that you cannot politicize the bureaucracy. Now, there will be a lot of fireworks that we'll see on this entire issue. But before I actually on the screen bring up details of this entire thing, just to let you know that in this country, it's not the first time that, remember, bureaucrats are being perhaps used to propagate the goods of any government. If you remember, during the 1960s, perhaps late, or the early 70s, Indira Gandhi, for the first time, remember, used a term, quote unquote, committed bureaucracy. The committed bureaucracy of the country. But we'll talk about that in just a moment. Let's bring up the entire details of this entire scheme. Will Babus be also designated as Rath Prabharis? Now, the government says that these bureaucrats need to get together. They'll be on a chariot like a vehicle that's going to be called Rath, and they will be designated as Rath Prabharis. So the problem is also with this connotation, that is Rath Prabharis. Is this going to be public work like the government says, or this is propaganda as the opposition says? So let's open up the entire subject, bring up details of what really this scheme is. How does this move? What is the problem? What is the contention? Who stands where? Now, when Babus are being designated as Rath Prabharis, the opposition says, and the opposition, remember, has shot off a letter to the Prime Minister already. So I'll just request our team to bring up the next graphic for you to understand why this is so contentious and what does this scheme really entail. Now, before we bring up that graphic, I think this is the center deploying bureaucrats to propagate welfare schemes. Now, welfare schemes are the Ujjwala Yojana, the Har Ghar Jal Yojana, a number of other schemes that the government, remember, the Awas Yojana that the Prime Minister has been talking about. So the center says that the bureaucrats must propagate the welfare schemes and bring up an assessment of where do we stand. This is a cross-country yatra to spread awareness on all these schemes. And like I said, this begins just after Diwali, and this will go on till January, and this is in the run-up to the big elections of 2024. On our screens now will be more details of how this scheme essentially is going to move. You will have joint secretaries, deputy secretaries, deputed as quote-unquote Rath Prabharis. Read this very carefully. Joint secretaries, deputy secretaries who are deputed as Rath Prabharis. The opposition says, why to call them Rath Prabharis? Does this have a political connotation? The opposition believes yes. But on the course of this entire show, we'll bring up our panelists to ask them whether this is really propaganda or this is real work. Now to our next point that again will help you understand that what this Yatra is. The Viksit Bharat Sankalp Yatra begins on November the 20th. It goes on till January the 25th. And remember, post that mostly you will have the model code of conduct setting in, the announcement of elections. And even during this period, you will have the winter elections to 5 states that will conclude in the next few weeks. And this is going to cover the entire country, the length and breadth of the entire country. About 2.7 lakh panchayats in the country is what this scheme really intends to cover. So this is throughout the country, and why the opposition believes that you cannot be using bureaucrats who are committed, possibly they allege, to your cause, to your government, to your schemes, to do propaganda for you. Before we get in our panel of guests, this is just a reaction that has come in from the government that defends the scheme, and also a reaction from the opposition and why they see a real problem here.
तो ये जो एक डेमोक्रेसी को कमजोर करने की एक हुनर इन्होंने निकाला है, ये अच्छा नहीं, इसका कंडम हम करते हैं। और इसीलिए मैंने लिख के भेजा है कि लोकतांत्रिक सिस्टम में हम ऑफिसरों को इस्तेमाल नहीं करना चाहिए।
This sort of misuse, gross misuse of the governmental machinery has not been seen in India ever. Every department is being asked to propagate what has been achieved under the Modi government.
And we've heard reactions that have come in from the BJP. Both Amit Malviya and the BJP National President JP Nadda have defended that entire scheme, and they instead put the ball in the Congress's or the opposition's court to ask that what really the problem is if the idea is to talk good of the government schemes. Zafar Islam, spokesperson of the BJP, is with us. Dr. Nimi Rastogi of the Aam Aadmi Party, I think, will just be with us in a moment, and we'll have her on the screens then. Nikhil Jain is a political analyst. He leans towards the Congress. We also have GM Shaheen Ji, who represents the JDU. And also good to have Uday Kumar Singh. He's not a politician, but he is a former bureaucrat, and he's also convener of the BJP's intellectual cell in Bihar. Yes, I'm not sure if Nikhil's audio is through or not, so we'll just ask our team to fix that and carry forward this conversation now. So, to Uday Kumar Singh Ji, I'll come to you first, sir, because you are a former bureaucrat. I want you to tell us whether this scheme, the Viksit Bharat scheme, and the government saying that the bureaucrats must propagate the goods of this scheme and ensure the last mile delivery, is this genuine work, or you believe this is propaganda?
देखिए, बड़ा महत्वपूर्ण विषय है और आपने बहुत अच्छा प्रश्न किया है
जी।
लेकिन इसका उत्तर बहुत चंद शब्दों में नहीं होगा, बड़ा लंबा इसका उत्तर होगा। चूंकि भारतीय जनता पार्टी ने 9 वर्षों के शासनकाल में अपना समय नहीं बिताया है। भारतीय जनता पार्टी ने देश में बहुत ही जन उपयोगी, जन कल्याणकारी योजनाएं लाई है। जैसे आपने चर्चा के क्रम में कहा उज्ज्वला योजना, आपने चर्चा के क्रम में कहा जो आयुष्मान योजना, आपने प्रधानमंत्री आवास योजना का चर्चा किया, आपने जनधन योजना का चर्चा किया, और इसी तरीके से अनेकों योजनाएं हम लोगों ने जनोपयोगी, जन कल्याण के लिए लाया है इस पूरे देश में। और उन योजनाओं के विषय में जनता को बताना ताकि वो उसका पूरा लाभ उठा सकें, ये ब्यूरोक्रेसी जो उन योजनाओं को मूर्त रूप दे रही है उसकी जिम्मेवारी बनती है। आपको मालूम होगा कि हमने एस्पिरेशनल डिस्ट्रिक्ट्स के तर्ज पे काम करना शुरू किया। जो जिला इन योजनाओं में पिछड़ रहे थे उनको हमने एस्पिरेशनल डिस्ट्रिक्ट्स कह के नोटिफाई किया और वहां पे हमने ज्वाइंट सेक्रेटरी लेवल के ऑफिसर्स को अधिकृत किया कि आप उन जिलाओं को डेडिकेटेड रूप से देखें कि वो भारतवर्ष में जो जनोपयोगी योजनाएं लाई गई हैं उन किन किन योजनाओं में पीछे जा रहे हैं, जो उन योजनाओं का मॉनिटरिंग शुरू हुआ।
उदय कुमार सिंह जी, मेरे आपसे सर दो छोटे से सवाल हैं, उससे पहले हम पॉलिटिशियंस को पैनल पे लाए। मैं आपसे ये सवाल पूछ रही हूँ क्योंकि सर आप एक फॉर्मर ब्यूरोक्रेट रह चुके हैं। अब मुझे ये बताइए कि अगर एक ब्यूरोक्रेट जो कहा जाता है कि उनका अलीजेंस सिर्फ कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन पे होता है, किसी पॉलिटिकल पार्टी से नहीं होता, किसी पॉलिटिकल दल से नहीं होता, और आपको याद होगा इंदिरा गांधी ने फेमसली एक कमिटेड ब्यूरोक्रेसी की बात कही थी सर, और उसको लेकर उस दौर में क्या हुआ था मैं दोहराना नहीं चाहती, लेकिन ये सब इलेक्शन के इतने पास में अगर होता है और उसके बाद एक रथ प्रभारी का टर्म यूज किया जाता है, सर आपको लगता है कि ब्यूरोक्रेट्स को उससे कोई दिक्कत नहीं होनी चाहिए?
रथ प्रभारी भारतीय जनता पार्टी का झंडा और कमल का सिंबल लेकर के तो नहीं घूम रहे हैं। उनको इन योजनाओं की जिम्मेवारी दी गई है कि आप इसको जनता के बीच लाएं। नहीं, आप बीच में नहीं बोले।
शाहिद जी, let him complete his point, उसके बाद बोलिएगा प्लीज, one by one.
No, this is not.
सुनिए शाहीन जी, we must learn to listen to each other, please. It's a request. We'll go one by one. I'm going to come back to you. Please let him complete his point, sir. Please. उदय जी आप अपना point finish करिए।
आप बोलिए। कोई भी योजना जब सरकार लाती है उसका मूर्त रूप ब्यूरोक्रेसी के माध्यम से दिया जाता है। अगर कहीं पे किसी योजना की जानकारी जनता को नहीं है और उसके जानकारी के अभाव में वो पूरी तरह से लाभान्वित नहीं हो पा रही है, तो सरकार का ये फर्ज है कि जो लोग उस योजना को लागू कर रहे हैं उसका अवेयरनेस बढ़ाएं। और आप देखती होंगी कि जो बहुत सारी योजनाएं जनता के द्वारा नहीं जानकारी के अभाव में उसका लाभ नहीं उठाया जा सक रहा है। और अगर ऐसा लगता है कि कहीं से
तो आपको लगता है इसमें कुछ गलत नहीं है? आपको लगता है इसमें कुछ गलत नहीं है? Before I get in Zafar, and I think we also have the AAP representative now with us, so we'll just get her on the screens. आती हूँ उदय जी, आपके पास आऊंगी. Let's quickly get the opposition. What is the problem, Nikhil? You know, if this is a government that is concerned about their last mile delivery, they want to ensure that the last man or woman standing gets the benefits of these welfare schemes. How can the Congress have a problem whose own leader Indira Gandhi had spoken about a quote-unquote committed bureaucracy, Nikhil? Nikhil, can you hear me? No, I think we have an issue with that audio. So we'll just get Nikhil back. But Shaheen ji, you want to respond to that? And आप भी देखिए ना, जनता दल यूनाइटेड में एक पर्सन थे आरसीपी सिंह, जो पहले एक ब्यूरोक्रेट थे, वो रिटायरमेंट लेते हैं, he takes a retirement, premature retirement. Then he works with Nitish Kumar.
Yeah, that's good.
Now obviously he's changed his party. So अगर आप लिस्ट देखें ना शाहीन जी, all political parties are guilty of this.
नहीं, वो दूसरा इशू है।
We are not against anyone. मैडम क्या है, हम लोग अरे सुनिए, मुझे कहने दीजिए पहले। आप अपोज देखिए, कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन के अंदर जो भी
उदय जी, I will come back to you, sir. ये सवाल शाहीन जी के लिए है।
1962 the IAS कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन, देखिए जो कानून बना 1962 में जो कानून बना, आप उसका वायलेशन नहीं कर सकते। हम तो सिंपल बात कह रहे हैं। आपको अभी क्यों आया याद इलेक्शन के वक्त? अभी तक आप सोए थे क्या? देखिए अभी 3 साल पहले, 2 साल पहले, 6 महीने पहले आप क्यों नहीं ये अपने जो
नहीं, तो आपको प्रॉब्लम टाइमिंग से है ना? फिर आप ये बोलिए कि ये पॉलिटिकली टाइम है, बट ये बताइए ना, हर पॉलिटिकल पार्टी सर ये चाहती है कि वो इलेक्शंस में जीते।
बिकॉज़ इलेक्शन
So your problem is with the timing, and your problem is also with the word Rath Prabhari. Am I right?
Prabhari, why Yeah, obviously. Why don't you give the name of the block presidents instead of Rath Prabhari? आप सिंपल कहिए ना, हमारी पार्टी के ब्लॉक प्रेसिडेंट जा रहे हैं कॉन्स्टिट्यूंसीज में ये अपना प्रचार करने के लिए. Don't ask them Rath Prabhari. Tell them कि these are all the block presidents of भारतीय जनता पार्टी. That's it. आप देखिए जितने भी कितने आज के अगर आप देखिए आज का समाचार आप देखिए.
So you do not have the problem with the idea that the last man standing should be getting the benefits. You have a problem with the timing, and you have a problem with the word Rath Prabhari. I also do see
absolutely
Dr. Nimi Rastogi on our screens now, but not sure if Nikhil can hear me. Uday ji, आप please थोड़ा wait करिएगा, मैं आऊँगी आपके पास. But Dr. Nimi, where do you stand on this entire issue? You know, there is also a conversation about freebies, about revdi culture, about empowerment. Now, this is a government that says we want to empower everyone.
हमें एक सेकंड का समय.
So why should that be a problem? Do you support the government, Dr. Nimi?
ये एक बैड प्रेसिडेंस है. एक व्यवस्था होती है, उसके कुछ लोग होते हैं जो व्यवस्था चलाते हैं, उनको राजनीति में इस्तेमाल करना एक बहुत ही गलत एग्जाम्पल होगा. अगर पहले होता आ रहा है तो इसका मतलब ये कि नहीं वो वैलिडेट हो गया है. ब्यूरोक्रेसी के बहुत जरूरी काम होते हैं, उनको आप इस तरह से नहीं लगा सकते. इसका मतलब है आप पूरे देश की व्यवस्था को ठप कर सिर्फ और सिर्फ अपना प्रचार करना चाहते हैं. हमने रेल उद्घाटनों में देखा है कि रेल में कर्मचारियों की इतनी ज्यादा कमी होती है, फिर भी उनको फॉर्मल ड्यूटी पे लगा देते हैं, जहाँ आम जनता सफर करती रहती है और प्रधानमंत्री अपने प्रचार मंत्री बनकर प्रचार करते रहते हैं. तो एज रिप्रेजेंटेटिव ऑफ आम आदमी पार्टी मुझे ये लगता है कि ये गलत तंत्र है, ये गलत व्यवस्था है, ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए. और इससे बहुत गलत एग्जाम्पल सेट इन होता है जो आगे भी लोग इसको वैलिडेट करेंगे. सो वी कंप्लीटली रिफ्यूट इट एंड वी आर नॉट इन फेवर.
Okay, you reject that idea. Nikhil, before you come in, I have to quickly now get in Zafar to respond to this. Now, Zafar, does this somewhere also indicate that there has been a problem with the last mile delivery of the government? The reason why today you need to rope in bureaucrats. And why should, bureaucrats to the levels of secretaries, joint secretaries, why should they be deputed for this work? I mean, they owe their allegiance to the constitution, not to a political party, Zafar, is what the opposition alleges.
देखिए, चाहे वो ब्यूरोक्रेसी हो, चाहे गवर्नमेंट हो, चाहे नेता हो, सब कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन पे ही बिलीव करते हैं, सबका एलिजेंस कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन पे रहता है. एंड एवरीबडी इज अ सर्वेंट ऑफ a common man on the street. So whether it's a bureaucrats or whether it's a leader, everybody has to serve who? A common man. And what they are doing, they are trying to reach out to every common man, every nook and corner of the country, to understand if as you rightly mentioned, last mile equity, because the last person in the queue should be the beneficiary. And if he has not been able to avail the benefit, then these people has to reach them out and make them understand what are the benefits and how they can be with the beneficiary. And if there is any gap, that gap needs to be bridged. Ultimate objective of government is elected for 5 years. Somebody has timing for now. What is the timing? Government is elected for 5 years, my friend. We can choose the time whenever it is government feels appropriate. And when the schemes have been launched, not one scheme, there are more than 300 schemes. Just a second. I didn't interrupt. Please don't interrupt me. I didn't interrupt him while
he was patiently listening to you. Let Zafar complete his point, then you can counter him. Zafar.
Okay.
There are more than 300 schemes. Government welfare scheme which has been announced. Let me tell you, every single decision made by the Honorable Prime Minister, the first, he always had in his mind while taking any call, the first beneficiary should be the common man. So all the 313 welfare schemes have been directed to common man on the streets and the marginalized section of the society. So everyone has been the beneficiary, but if there are some people who have not been able to avail benefit, then how to reach them out? They must be shy, they must not be able to reach out, they must be needing some support.
And when
people go to village like I do all the time to
terrible policy? Is
there are people who are not aware of anything.
The opposition alleges, Zafar, that you're using these bureaucrats for your propaganda. How would you defend that?
As I said, they are both servants, whether leader, parties or the bureaucrat. They are all servant of the people. They have to serve the people. What are they doing?
Okay.
They are creating awareness.
But not of the government.
They are not doing any
Not of the
propaganda.
government, they say.
They are just creating awareness of all those.
Not to compare. Not
Okay.
to compare.
It's a government scheme.
Okay.
No, it is a government scheme. The block presidents, the 296 blocks they will be visiting. What is the responsibility of the block? Their responsibility is to reach out to the people. आप सोचते हैं ना कि आम आदमी को ही सिर्फ जो है ब्यूरोक्रेट्स के पास जाना चाहिए. ब्यूरोक्रेट्स आम आदमी के पास नहीं. ये सरकार दूसरी है. जनता जो है भगवान है. इस पर सरकार सबसे
निखिल
उसमें जनता की सेवा करनी है. जनता के लिए आगे करना है. ब्यूरोक्रेट्स को भी घर के उनके दरवाजे जाना चाहिए.
You know, yes. Okay, Zafar, now I have to take the Congress also to task now, Nikhil, because you defend the Congress most of the times. Tell me something. Do you stand with what leaders like Pawan Kheda, leaders like Sitaram Yechuri, leaders like Mallikarjun Kharge had said? And then, please answer this in the backdrop of what Indira Gandhi had spoken about the judiciary. And I quickly just want to read this. She said in November 1969, Nikhil, the creation of an administrative cadre committed to national objectives and responsive to our social needs is an urgent necessity. So the government says we are right. We just want to ensure the last mile delivery. So what is the problem, Nikhil?
Wait, first of all, Deepthi, you have to go back all the way to 1969 to find something that from the Congress that can be compared with this. Number one. Number two, even that can't be compared.
You can't deny it, no?
What you read,
can't deny that, Nikhil.
No. What you read, एक second. What you read, what has that to do with the Rath Prabhari thing? I don't understand. The very nomenclature of it, Rath Prabhari. Prabhari
No,
कौन से होते
your
हैं
problem
सरकार में?
then is
सरकार
with
में
the word
इंचार्ज
Rath
नहीं होता.
Prabhari. Your problem
It
is not
in
with the
political-
bureaucrats. Then a Pawan
problem is
Kheda who
with
says that
every
this is
single level.
propaganda
No.
is then being hypocritical, no?
Let me make my points. Let me make my points. Deepthi, let me make my points. Sorry?
Huh.
Let me make my point that first of
Yes,
all, the letter
yes, Nikhil,
that
complete your
has
point.
become all of this controversy, the letter that has given life to all of this controversy, it very clearly says that this Rath Yatras, these Rath Yatras in each of the districts are to showcase, celebrate the achievements of the past 9 years. Zafar Saab, यहाँ पे बैठ के वो ये कह रहे हैं that people will be made aware of the last mile delivery schemes. That is not what this Rath Yatra is for. This Rath Yatra here is because the government wants to showcase the achievements. And if indeed it is about the government schemes, why do they not talk about every single scheme? Manrega is not a scheme of the past 9 years, but the Modi government continues it. It's a very good scheme. Food security, compulsory education, all of these schemes are since before the Modi era. So, but the Modi government's politicians,
So, Nikhil, you're
Modi
getting
government's
insecure.
bureaucrats won't be talking about
You're
it.
getting insecure, Nikhil. That's the problem. You know, if the intention
Absolutely
is
not.
to think good of the common man, you should support the government.
Why
Because your
can I-
problem
and
is
how
just with
can
the government
anybody
schemes being
support
talked
the
about.
government
Your
in this?
problem is with the word Rath being used.
The problems are multifold. The fact that
Very
officers
quickly.
of such senior rank are being roped in, the fact that it is only to showcase achievements, the fact that it only covers the past 9 years, the fact that it is a Rath Yatra and not an awareness camp. What is the better way to reach out to the last citizen of the country? Is it to run a Rath through the district, or is it to make sure that a physical camp is
Nikhil,
organized
I'm just
in every
reminded of
village,
one
every
thing, and you must
panchayat?
not take this personally. When you said Bharat Jodo Yatra, a lot of people said कि भारत तो टूटा हुआ नहीं है, लेकिन आप फिर भी कह रहे हैं भारत जोड़ो
अरे
यात्रा.
बाबा, that is a
देखिए
political
वो
thing.
आपका
You
prerogative
can't
था. अगर
compare
सरकार ये
political.
कहती है,
See, the
अगर
BJP
सरकार
can
ये
do this
कहती
Rath
है कि
Yatra
ये
very
रथ
well.
प्रभारी होंगे, तो आपको उसके टर्म
The
से दिक्कत
BJP
है.
No.
this is
The
opposition for
BJP
the
can do
sake
it
of
very well.
opposition, isn't
See,
it, Nikhil?
had the BJP said, Deepthi, had the BJP said we are going to take out a Rath Yatra like that, nobody would have had a problem. The fact that the government of India is doing that with senior government officers and then making it completely a political event, that is the problem. The politicization of the bureaucracy, the massive misuse of government machinery and
You
resources
have a
for
problem
political
with the
campaigning, that is the
politicization
problem.
of the bureaucracy.
Political
When
campaigning is all
Indira
right, all
Gandhi,
parties do that.
1969, Nikhil, 1969
committed.
spoke of a quote-unquote
Did she say the
committed bureaucracy.
Did she say the
I let the
judiciary
viewers
should be committed
decide.
to
I
me?
let the viewers decide where they stand, Nikhil. I've completely run out of time. But I thank all our guests for joining us, and we'll continue to carry forward this entire conversation. I'm sure this is not the last one that we are having. Thank you. On the other side, we are back with lots more.